You know, the human brain, it's a total mystery, right? It's this incredibly powerful, super complex machine, and honestly, experts are still trying to figure it all out. Today we're going to dive into some of the most extraordinary cases from the famous neurologist Dr. Oliver Sachs to see what happens when that machine goes just a little bit haywire. So just imagine for a second, what if you couldn't recognize the face of someone you love? What if you were looking right at them and all you saw was a hat? It sounds impossible, but for some people, this is reality. Let's jump into our first case. Alright, so first up, meet Mr. P. Now, this guy was a brilliant musician, a really well-respected teacher, but he had a very, very strange problem with his vision. And it wasn't that his eyes were bad. Nope, the problem was much, much deeper inside his mind. For Mr. P, the world was basically a giant, jumbled-up puzzle. He couldn't see the big picture. He only saw, well, the parts. This meant he'd recognize his students by the sound of their voice, because he couldn't piece their faces together. He'd even walk down the street and have a nice chat with a fire hydrant, mistaking its shape for a person. His reality was all details, with no whole. When Dr. Sachs examined him, things got even weirder. Mr. P would look at the doctor's face and describe it, feature by feature, a nose here, an eye there, but he couldn't see it as a face. At one point, he couldn't tell the difference between his own foot and his shoe. And get this, when Dr. Sachs showed him a photo of the Sahara Desert, he started describing a beautiful river that just wasn't there. And all of this builds up to the absolutely unbelievable moment that gives this book its name. So Mr. P is leaving the doctor's office and he starts looking around for his pet. He sees his wife, who's waiting for him, and he reaches out, grabs her head with both hands, and actually tries to lift it off to put it on his own head. He truly, genuinely mistook his wife for a hat. So what in the world was going on here? See, it wasn't an eye problem. His eyes worked perfectly. It was a brain problem. The condition is called visual agnosia. It means you can see all the shapes, all the colors, all the features just fine, but your brain just can't put those pieces together to understand the whole picture. Okay, let's move on to our next case file. We've just seen what happens when the brain can't make sense of the world outside. But what happens when it can't make sense of our very own bodies? Picture this. There's a young man in a hospital bed, recovering. He goes to sleep, everything seems fine. But when he wakes up, he finds something in the bed with him, something absolutely terrifying. He is completely convinced that a nurse has played a sick, twisted joke on him by putting a severed human leg in his bed. He's not just confused, he is horrified. To him, there's absolutely no question this cold, strange leg is not his. So in a total panic, he does the only thing that makes sense. He grabs this foreign leg and he throws it out of the bed. But to his shock, he goes with it. He tries again, throwing the leg, and he lands right on the floor next to it. That's when the horrifying realization hits. The leg he was trying to throw away was his own. And this is where it gets truly mind-bending. Dr. Sachs tries to reason with him. He asks a perfectly logical question. Okay, if that's not your leg, then where is yours? And the man, completely bewildered, looks around and says, I don't know, it's missing. I can't find my leg anywhere. He honestly felt his own leg had vanished and been replaced by this imposter. So what on earth is going on here? Well, it all comes down to a sense that most of us never even think about. It's called proprioception. You could think of it as our body's sixth sense. It's like an internal GPS that constantly tells your brain where all your body parts are without you having to look. It's our internal spirit level. And for this young man, that spirit level for his leg had just shattered. Okay, for our final case file, we're going to look at something we all use every single day: communication. We think of language as just words, right? But it's so much more. It's tone, it's body language, it's feeling. So what happens when the brain can only process one part of that equation? This is just a fascinating natural experiment. So in a hospital ward, you have patients with two opposite conditions watching a presidential speech on TV. The patients with aphasia couldn't understand a single word he was saying, but they were experts at reading his tone, his expressions, his gestures, and they were laughing hysterically because they could tell he was lying through his teeth. On the flip side, the patients with agnosia understood every single word, but they were completely blind to the emotion. To them, the speech was just a meaningless jumble of words. And one of the agnosia patients, who used to be a school teacher, just summed it up perfectly. Since she could only analyze the speech based on logic and words, with zero emotional manipulation, she came to a chillingly simple conclusion. She said the speech made so little sense, the president must either have brain damage or he's hiding something. So, what do we take away from all these bizarre, sometimes terrifying stories? Well, they show us just how fragile our whole sense of reality is. But maybe more importantly, they show us the unbelievable resilience and adaptability of the human spirit when it's pushed to its absolute limits. I mean, just listen to the story of Madeline. She was born with cerebral palsy, blind, and for 60 years, she believed her hands were just useless foreign objects. So Dr. Sachs tries a simple experiment. He places her food just out of her reach, and, driven by basic hunger, she reaches. For the first time in her life, she consciously uses her hands. And that one simple act, it changed everything. She discovered her hands, and soon she was using them to create these beautiful, intricate clay sculptures. When you put it all together, you realize our brain literally builds the world we live in, and when it gets damaged, that world can completely fall apart. But these stories aren't just about what's broken. They're about empathy and kindness and the absolutely incredible ability of the human spirit to find new ways to connect, to create, and to live, even when the pieces don't fit together anymore. And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. By looking at these extreme cases of how the mind can fail, it gives us this profound new appreciation for the everyday miracle of when it works perfectly. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How can we all better appreciate the seamless, incredible reality that our own brains are creating for us, right here, right now?